I'll start it out. Just how much has your job changed, and what's it like to not have Jeff out here anymore?
I'd say in terms of the job, not much has changed. I think the real impact is when we get to the season. With that, with Jeff's responsibilities there. But I tell you what, it's refreshing. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I just watched Tyler Grisham. Watching just his enthusiasm, his passion, and just his appreciation for his opportunity. It's kind of put things in perspective for me too. So not a whole lot has changed. And then with Streeter becoming the passing game coordinator, he's kind of absorbed some of those responsibilities that Jeff would have in the spring. So we're excited to have Grish on board, to be structured the way we are. And the biggest thing for us, we don't want to disrupt the chemistry. I think that what's made us successful, when Jeff and I was here, was that we had good chemistry amongst the entire staff. So it wasn't just me and Jeff. It was Robbie, it was Danny, it was everybody in the support role as well. So the chemistry, that's the biggest thing that I'm worried about, is just making sure the chemistry is there. So that means that I can't make it about a new job for me, because it's really we're gonna operate the same. Just some of the responsibility of transition.
After X amount of years, this is probably the wrong word, but once you had a guy by your side sharing responsibilities, now it's you. Is it a rebirth for you professionally in some ways? I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I'm getting at in that regard.
I don't know if it would be a rebirth. Again, as I said before, Jeff and I, we had talked about this before. This is something that he really wanted to do, and so I knew a time was coming. And so you prepare yourself in your mind for this to happen. But at the same time too, when we transitioned from Chad to Jeff and myself, we never made it about us. So it's never really been about us. We just figured out, okay, this is how we need to be structured. This is the work that has to get done. Here's how we're going to divvy it up, and then everybody, be the best at your role at what you do. And so we'll just figure out that responsibility Jeff had. We'll just kind of divvy it up, and I may have to accept some more of the responsibility. But really, that won't come to life until we actually get to the season. But really excited for him. I recruit Tampa, so I kind of got my ear to the ground down there, and just the things that I'm hearing of the way that he's going about his business down there, and the way he's got that fan base energized, and his presence in the community. Just so excited for him, and I can't wait to get on the road just to get down there and actually see it.
You mentioned the game day chemistry and responsibilities. What about game day? Is Brandon going to stay on the field? Is going to put
we'll get
up in the box?
we'll figure that out as we get closer to the season. Typically as we get into fall camp, we start to have some of the scrimmages. Where we try to do it as close to game day. That's something we think about this summer as we go into all-in meetings with Coach Sweeney. He'll have his input, but for right now we're just focusing on spring practice. And as we get deeper into the summer, we'll figure out exactly how we're organized. But I don't plan on coming down.
Tony, I'm sure you were thrilled to have Travis back. What was that like? And then Lynn J as well. What was his reaction? What were your conversations like?
With Travis, biggest thing for me, I just wanted to make sure that I educate him from my best understanding of what is ahead. And then the decision was up to him. And really wasn't surprised, either way. Just being around Travis, I know the kind of young man he is, how much he cares about being a leader in his family, how much he cares about his education, and where he values football. He's a great football player. He loves the game, but he doesn't have it out of perspective. So to have a guy like that come back as a coach, it makes you a better coach. Trust me. But for some of them younger guys, they had to make a decision. Because a lot of those guys came here, thinking that, hey, he's probably going to transition, after 3 years, and then I'm going to have an opportunity to compete. And Lynn J was one there. Lynn J is a young man that, comes from a different background, down there in Butler, Georgia, and is really just kind of figuring out life. And he's a guy that's very competitive, wants to play, and he was geared up for his opportunity to naturally step into the role. And actually, it was kind of awkward because I was talking to Lynn J, and I didn't know what Travis was going to do, and then he called me, and that's when he told me right there, and I let Lynn J know, and said, you just got to make a decision. But you're really, really proud of him, because the easiest thing to do would to be pack up his bags and to move on. But he decided, I'm going to step back. I'm going to mature and grow and see it as an opportunity to play with a pro, to learn how to prepare like a pro, and just really take advantage of his opportunity and not worry so much about the quantity of the reps that I get, but just focus on the quality. So really, really proud of seeing his maturity, as he's gone through the spring, and he's had a different mindset, different look in his eye. He's really ready to go challenge and compete.
Coach Sweeney was saying the center position is going to be pretty fluid with Cade Stewart, Blake Vincent, and some other guys are cross-training. It's been a while since that's been the case for you at center. How interesting is that going to be?
Well, last year going into it, it was Pollard or Gage, so it was kind of fluid with those two guys, and then Pollard solidified it. And naturally, you would think that Cade, being the most veteran guys, actually played and started at that position, in competition, that he would be the guy. And obviously, his schedule's a little bit different this spring, was just some of the younger guys. But we're going to need as many as we can have, ready to go, because you're one injury away from. And then again, it may be a situation where one of those guys steps up, and Cade may be better served at the guard position. That's what the spring is all about, figuring out, as many guys as we can get snapping the ball to give us flexibility. And then as we progress through the spring, when we really start to back off with the installation and let the guys play, we'll know, how it's going to sort out with the best 5.
Yeah, the scrimmage today.
A little bit. It was more situational, where we're just, trying to get the guys thinking about football, certain scripted things where, okay, we're 1st and 10, we're just trying to get 4 yards. Then we got maybe a 2nd down, play the 3rd down. So it was more situational, and as we go and progress, then we'll completely get off the field and let it be more like a game.
Tony, when you self-evaluate what are some areas you value?
3rd down. We weren't very good those last 2 games in 3rd down. In particular, 3rd and 3. And overall, our percentage wasn't there. And then when you dive down 3rd and 3, we weren't as good as we needed to be. 3rd and 5. We were really good on 3rd and 6, so that 3rd and medium area. And then in short yardage, we didn't hit our goal of 75%. We were about 68%. And when we broke it down, we were really good running the football. Took some chances throwing the football, so we learned we probably need to hand the ball to Travis a little bit more. So in them short yardage situations, if we want to convert, but you want to mix it up. You don't want to be one-dimensional. So again, just opportunities to improve there in the red zone. When you dial it back, our touchdown percentage in the red zone, is really, really good. But we had a turnover in the red zone. We missed a couple field goals, and then we had a couple in-the-game situations where we didn't convert when we went for it. So those were some of the biggest things. And then we have some tendencies that naturally you would when you're pretty good on offense. You're going to have some tendencies, but we got to work hard to make sure that we break some of those tendencies. But when you step back and we didn't finish the way we wanted to finish, offensively, but when you step back and you look at it, man, we accomplished a lot of things, but those were the areas we're really, really going to hit hard. And then tempo, playing fast. And around here, we've always tried to get 80 plays, but the last couple of years, we've been around 72. Now, we're a lot more explosive than when we had those 80 plays, so we want to try and find that happy medium to where we can get that snap count up without jeopardizing our efficiency and our explosiveness.
You see anything different as far as the approach and maybe the way Justin Ross is handling things now that he's not only the most accomplished guy on the field coming back, but really along with Amari, the leaders in that wide receiver?
No doubt. I think that Ross realizes, after going through 2 seasons, that he's not necessarily where he wants to be. He's a guy that still has a ceiling. He still has a lot of potential to grow. As a wideout, very, very electric, very, very dynamic, but still has room to improve and to be polished. And now with T moving on, he's naturally going to take that boundary spot, which is a little bit different than where he was in the field. So now he has to transition back there. And then Amari is a guy that's coming off of injury and hoping that, as he just continues to get that spring back in his step, we'll have more ways to get him involved. But biggest thing for those guys, they're not the leaders in that room. It's their room. They got a new coach, so they got to figure out. So it's some different dynamics. And then he had an opportunity to go up to the combine as one of those young guys that gets to see, the combine before it happens for him. And he realizes that if you want to be a pro, you got to start preparing like a pro now, because if you don't know how to be a pro by the time you get there, it's almost too late.
Any of these mid-year guys flash to you?
Man, they all at times are flashing. You start with the offensive line. Obviously, you just look at them. It's like, okay, that's what we want them to look like coming in. But again, they're swimming, and for them, in fairness to them, they're second team right now. They're in there, and BV, he don't slow down the installation for a second team offensive lineman that are freshmen. So everything is spinning for them, but you can see their bodies, the way that they move. You can tell that they got a good foundation. I'm just trying to think. EJ. EJ is another guy that's very, very fluid. Still a lot to learn, but you can tell. It's almost a spitting image of Ross, probably a step faster than Ross from what I can tell, from what I've seen. Sage, Sage is a tough guy. Just really, really been pleased with his toughness and his willingness to get in there and mix it up. Just trying to think. Oh, and DJ. I was telling somebody the other night. It's like, okay, I was here with Taj. Man, it's like, okay, well then Deshaun's like, man, then Trevor, and then you see an arm like DJ's. It's just it's unbelievable the way these young quarterbacks are coming in just from a poise standpoint. He's so poised in the pocket. Now he's still got a lot to learn, but I tell you what, we didn't know how it was going to go. Tyson a year ago in this situation was struggling with some of the motions and whatnot, but DJ just looks calm and collected, and when that ball comes off his hands, it comes off.
You moved Taquan Johnson over to the offensive side.
Yep.
You had a lot of success with that with Gage and Tyler Shatley years ago. How do you think his future looks?
I think just from a couple days, just watching him. That's probably the best move for him. Very powerful. Looks like he's picking up concepts pretty good. But when he gets his hands on you, and he moves well too. It's a situation where I think with his skill set on the offensive line is really, really going to help him going forward because he can move, change direction, and he's probably the most powerful guy that we have. Now it'll just be a function of picking up the concepts and then being able to do things in real time.
Tight end was not a big part of the receiving game
Right.
last year,
Right.
but I'm watching him walk off the field the other night.
Yeah.
You know, with Davis and Jalen Lay and
Yep.
Brayton's back. Expect
It's a
to
good,
see that.
you know, definitely, and that was an area, you know, as you look at the self-scout, that over the last couple of years, you know, the production there. Now, the running back kind of carried that, you know, so it kind of transitioned to Travis and Lynn Jay's, you know, evolution as receivers. But when we're at our best is when we can stay in that base personnel and we can really, really stretch the field, you know, with all 4 receivers on the field, as the tight end being one of them. So excited about their growth. And so with Braden being back and now, you know, Davis being a year older, you know, that's going to push Chalk. And then now you got, like I said, Sage has come in and, you know, he wants to try and compete, so that's going to push Jalen Lay. So really, really excited with the bodies that we have there, and I think it's probably overall from a talent, you know, top to bottom, probably the best group of tight ends that we have. Now we just got to get them all ready to go function in all situations.
Seems like depth of wide receiver is somewhere you're looking at this year. Somebody like a Brand Spector, where's he at right now?
You know, Speck was a guy that you know, we purposely held that red shirt, but he was a guy that because we had depth last year and we didn't want to burn that year, but he flashed last year. You know, so he's a guy that we're counting on, and a good thing for him is he's so versatile. You know, he's not truly a true slot body. You know, so he's big enough to go play outside, and then he has the strength and the quickness to be able to play all 3 positions for us. So as we go forward, we're going to need all those guys because we might not have just the total number of guys, but we're going to have good quality depth.
We heard a lot about Ngata last year, but what do we need to know about Frank Ladson, and what are you guys looking for in that competition as they look to kind of separate?
You know, with Frank, you know, he's a guy that just in our building has drawn some comparisons to Martavis Bryant, just because he's so big and so fast. You know, he's a guy that's got that Sammy type of explosiveness. Probably maybe not quite Sammy, but he's got some really, really good explosiveness, and he got some jets. And, you know, I think what happened to him last year is just, you know, like any typical freshman, like you get down toward the end of the season and that monkey jumps on your back and you're just kind of, oh, let me get to next year. But now he understands, having gone through the season, what it's going to take this off season. And so now you're just seeing, what I'm seeing, just the things that I notice are just little things. The way he walks around the building now, you know, he's got his head up, he's got his chest out, and he'll engage more, where he was really, really quiet, you know, just because he was trying to figure things out. But now we got a little thing where me and him will joke back and forth, and I can just tell that his confidence is building. So we're going to need that, you know, because you're going to need all those guys to be ready to go. And then, you know, the big challenge for all those guys is to be able to be multiple. Don't just be locked into playing one position, being able to play all different positions so that we can have multiple lineups. And I think that what we've learned over the last couple of years is when we can get multiple lineups and put guys in specific spots that can function, we can create some major matchup problems.
Speaking of Martavis, Coach Sweeney was saying EJ can really fly too.
Yeah.
Is he even faster than you expected to be coming in?
You know, and for me, yes, because you know, Jeff was handling that. Him and Coach Bates were down there, you know, doing majority of the recruiting. And during camp, you guys may get to see him, but they keep me up on the field with the running backs, and we don't get to see much of the fun stuff. You know, we go over there and do pass blocking, while they all do one-on-ones and stuff. So I didn't have a chance to see him, but other than tape. So it's hard to tell until you see him. But he's very, very fluid, very bendy. He's got that sudden change of direction, very similar to Ross. And like I said, I think he might just be a little bit more, you know, top end faster than Ross. So excited about him in his future.
When August rolls around, you'll have 7 running backs in the room with Wrench.
Right.
So 2-part question: are you seeing any urgency out of Malusi and Dukes?
Oh yeah.
Knowing that hey, more's coming.
Oh yeah.
And then how do you handle that, considering
You know,
one football and 7
it's
guys?
right, exactly. And I don't know if it's some more of the guys that are coming behind him, but with Travis being back, you know, they all want their touches. This is what I told him, and Coach used a great analogy. You know, whenever you go to the fish pond to go feed the fish, you got the pellets, but there's not enough pellets for every fish in the pond. Right, you drop the pellets and whoever gets to the top. So I said, fellas, don't worry about how many reps, just worry about the quality of your reps, you know. And we've proven over the years that we're going to play 4 or 5 guys, and we'll try to get you opportunities. So just go compete, and you never know. You know, you never know. You're one snap away from. And the biggest thing for me is have them ready to play, but then also get more production out of them on special teams too. I think they can really impact. And again, you know, there's very, very high expectations for these freshmen, and I've told them you need to come in and be ready to play. All right, but if I'm doing my job as a coach, what I tell these guys in recruiting, you know, I should have guys that are ready to play ahead of young guys coming in, and then bring the young guys along.
Do you think there'll be any turnover there, or do you feel like most of those guys are?
You know, as of right now, I don't foresee it. You know, I think we kind of got through that window where there might have been some. You know, I think that all those guys, and I told them, I said, look, biggest thing is I can't tell you what to do, but I know if you were my son, I'd tell you to stick there and fight it out, you know what I'm saying? Especially you younger guys early in your career, and just see what happens, because there's lessons to be learned in competing.
You were in the room with Lynn J when Travis.
Yeah, I was actually, we having a one-on-one meeting. You know, his reaction was, I think he was hopeful, hopeful in a way, you know what I'm saying, but not in a bad way. You know, it's not nothing personal to Travis. You know, they got a great relationship, but he was kind of hopeful that Travis was going to move on so that he could, naturally step into that. But we were getting on the same page about what my expectations are for him, where he is as a junior. He's no longer a sophomore, and expect how he's going to conduct himself on and off the field, and really just kind of getting on the same page. So he was kind of, I think he was taken aback, but then after he walked out and thought about it, he came back the next day with a smile on his face, ready to go.
When you're going back and watching that championship game back, sort of removed from the emotion of it, is there any sequence where you're like, man, you're kicking yourself for maybe something you wish you would have?
Probably just in the second half, got the ball in Travis's hands a little bit more. Maybe stick with the run game, but they got on fire and they were scoring, and we were trying to score fast, and we were up there, up 17-7. The biggest thing was not scoring. I think if we scored touchdowns on those early drives, I think that you might have been able to distance yourself to where now they go into panic mode. But when we were kicking field goals and not converting for touchdowns, that's probably the biggest thing there. And then there were a couple of just missed plays. We had a couple third downs that were batted. We had one screenplay. I think we were down. It was a one-score game. We had a screenplay out there to Travis. If we make that block, Travis is going to go score. So the biggest thing is scoring those early touchdowns, and then in the second half, just probably keeping the ball in our hands, putting together some drives, and then try to get it close in the fourth quarter.
Sorry if this was on the last, but have any of the newcomers on offense caught your eye or impressed you?
Yeah, just all of them. As I said, in general, you could tell they're the right guys. I see why they were so highly ranked. Just physically. Now, for the offensive linemen up front, physically they flashed, but mentally it's just been a challenge, because they're thrown in there, with the second unit, and I know that last year there was a lot of talk about that D line, but not coming out here in the spring, it's a totally different group, and it's a big challenge, but it's gonna be good for them. But Sage Ennis, just his overall, aggressiveness and toughness. EJ, very fluid, very fast, and then DJ is as advertised in terms of his arm strength.
With Braden and now Amari fully healthy and Travis showing he can go out of the backfield, is middle field maybe going to be utilized a little bit more?
I think that's an area where, when you study us, that we could do a better job of attacking it. But I think that every area of the field now, can be utilized. Where I think when you don't quite have the tight end that can stretch it, in our system, and then Amari not quite being, as full speed as we want him, and then so you lose some of your misdirection stuff. So I think we get all of those elements back, and really, as I said before, it's we have a plan, but really whatever the defense is going to give us, we're going to take it.
So much was made about Ngata going into last year. What do you feel like he is, and mentally and physically?
I think he's progressing, just as we would hoped. Biggest thing is now they're moving around, and Grish is really challenging those guys to cross train, right? But as we get closer to the season, so to speak, we'll start narrowing those guys into where they'll start, and then build the flexibility. But right now he's made play, had a couple big plays out here today, so I'm pleased with where he is.
How hard is number 11 to block?
Obviously, first couple days, he was limited just a little bit, but so far, and again, right now, those guys are swimming. When you get some of the older guys, but you see that he's special. And I tell you the one that's really caught my attention on the defensive side. Obviously, Brazil is as advertised, but he's been a little bit limited with the knee. But Miles Murphy, oh my gosh, that guy there. He's definitely as advertised. He's really flashed so far. So he's going to push those other guys, just from my perspective, at that position.
The size that those guys came in with, how rare is that?
It's ridiculous, man. I'm looking at my boys, and if my boys grow that big, I might have to work for the rest of my life to feed them. I don't know how their parents would feed them, but I tell you what, it's just a testament to the progression of the high school game, just with their nutrition, with their weightlifting, and then just and we were talking about it with the quarterbacks. I think that having these guys, working with guys outside of their high school. I know the high school coaches may not like it, but if they supplement it the right way, I think that's what's contributing, to the development of these guys, physically and mentally.
What is it about Murphy that makes him?
Oh man, he's fast, instinctual. He's got a motor, and he's got good change of direction. He looks, and you could tell he's a student of the game. So he looks almost polished as a young guy.
What do you want to say out of DJ and Tyson as they kind of?
Then Tyson is a guy that obviously probably is kind of lost in the middle right there. But I tell you what, he's done a great job of being prepared for his opportunity, and he looks like a completely different dude. And so he's making all the right reads, he's making the throws, he looks like he's in command of the system. So the biggest thing for those guys is just to absorb the installation, right, and go out there and get better every single day and compete. And once we get to the end of spring, we'll have a body of work to just make some evaluation. But right now, for all those guys, man, just go out there and compete. That's all we're talking about.
When you guys do self-scout, like obviously you're a former engineer, you like numbers and stuff, so how much of it is gut feel, and then how much do you personally rely on analytics? And
I think you start with the statistical side just to kind of get you going in the right direction, and then from there you actually have to go, okay, so let's say we're third down, we had an issue. Okay, well, we know we got an issue. Well, let's break it all the way down to the segments of third down to find out where the actual issue was. And then once we know that, okay, 3rd and 3 is a problem, well, let's go watch all the 3rd and 3s and let's break it down. Let's see, was it a coaching? Did I put him in a bad situation? Did we lose a one-on-one matchup? Or was there a miscommunication? Or did the defense just have a better call? So then that's where you get into. So after you dive into the information, then it becomes more of your gut. Okay, these are the ways that we need to fix it.
Coach Sweeney has created a strong culture of family.
Correct.
And you were here as a player.